Hey guys, I'm Jim. Welcome to the channel. The downsides of teaching English online, why it's not ideal for digital nomads. If you're looking for online work, something you can do remotely, teaching ESL, it can be an okay option. Like anything, it's far from perfect. There are some downsides, definitely. The advantages are flexibility, choosing the schedule that you wish, being an independent contractor, working out of your home, not having a boss or anyone to answer to, also not having to deal with the possibility of gossiping, co-workers, disgruntled co-workers, that kind of thing. So, but in this video, we're going to be talking about the disadvantages and why I feel, in my opinion, that teaching ESL online really is not a good option if you're planning to be a digital nomad or planning to do a lot of traveling and looking to make income online just to be able to keep traveling. I don't think it's a good option for that. So living the digital nomad life, working remotely from your laptop, is much easier when face-to-face screen time is not required. If I could do data entry, simply have a stack of numbers to enter into a spreadsheet or something, that would be ideal. I could listen to music, relax, and take my time as I do the task. I've done data entry as a temp before for several companies, and always like these jobs for the low stress. Company generally leaving you alone and trusting you to be able to work independently. Unfortunately, many of these gigs were just short-term projects and didn't last too long. Some people say, oh, that sounds really boring, but for me, give me this kind of mundane task all day long, every day, I would be on cloud nine, wearing headphones, listening to music, not having to be on for the entire time as you do in an ESL classroom or an online meeting, for example, a remote customer service job or something like that. I think other common digital nomad type jobs like coding would be similar. You can work from a coffee shop or a co-working space, a hotel, while traveling or out of your home. With teaching ESL, you really can't work from a coffee shop. I suppose you could, but you likely annoy the hell out of the people around you, and the environment would probably be way too distracting. You really need to be in a quiet space of your own. So the first reason why I think teaching online is really not a good option for digital nomads. Number one, you're always at the mercy of the internet connection. If the internet drops out, then you can't teach and you don't get paid. Simple as that. Some companies will actually penalize you a few dollars if you're absent for a class and you don't cancel in time. Funny story, in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, I rented an Airbnb for a month with the plan to teach online there. The apartment was a bedroom with a desk and a chair and a separate balcony space with table and chairs and an outdoor kitchen as well. After arriving and setting up my computer in the bedroom, it turned out that the internet didn't work in the bedroom, but it did work pretty well and it was somewhat stable on the balcony. So that's where I moved my setup. I hung a map on a patch of the wall next to the refrigerator, which that would be my classroom backdrop. Several things happened throughout that month that turned this into a complete disaster. Namely, heavy rainstorms with thunder and whipping winds. I soldiered through the classes somehow, getting pelted with raindrops, trying to protect my computer from getting wet. Also with the early morning hours, which are necessary with some of these jobs, if you live in the central time zone in the US and you're teaching students who live in Asia, for me, I needed to be out on the balcony before the sun came up. So it was like the only lights in that deep darkness. The light attracted all sorts of insects, many bees. I didn't get stung or anything, but it was very distracting to say the least, keeping one eye on the many bees circling over my head and gathering around the ceiling light bulb as I was trying to teach a class. And to complicate matters even further, the homes of the neighbors were all packed in really close in that neighborhood. I was outside and my voice must have been very loud for those still trying to sleep at 6 a.m. A few times a neighbor's dog went berserk, hearing my voice and just would not stop barking. And I was wearing headphones, but even so, I could still hear the loud barking clearly, as could the rest of that crowded neighborhood, I'm sure. So that was a nightmare scenario. It's pretty ridiculous and hilarious as I look back on it. Chalk it up to a lesson learned. I'll try to avoid a similar situation in the future. Those are some of the issues you can run into when just setting up shop in an Airbnb or something as soon as you arrive somewhere overseas. Another challenge which I touched on, which makes teaching ESL online less than ideal, is the time zone difference. Many companies require you to teach during the peak times in Asia. These are generally very early in the morning and sometimes late in the evening. The second reason, if you're trying to get enough hours to make things work, you often have to work split shifts. A few hours early in the morning, a few hours in the evening. I personally have never liked this kind of schedule. I prefer to work for a block of time, then plan to have the rest of my day free. The early morning hours are far from ideal. I've taught classes as early as 5 a.m., which if you're not really a morning person, that can be absolutely brutal. The weird schedule wreaked havoc on my already poor sleep and had me walking around like a sleep-deprived zombie, feeling crappy during my free time. Now, if you're coding or designing websites, copywriting, or something similar, you're more in charge of your schedule. You can work reasonable hours throughout the day or evening, wherever you're located. Reason 3, another big disadvantage of teaching online, and probably the biggest downside, often you schedule hours, make yourself available, but end up not getting booked. I've had days where I made myself available for maybe 10 hours. I was ready to work, hoping to get scheduled for 4 to 5 hours in that time frame, but ended up only getting scheduled for about 2 hours. So that's not very sustainable. It seems necessary to work with several companies to ensure you're getting enough hours. My goal was around 20 to 25 hours a week, but I've always fallen far short of that. The fourth reason, and maybe probably the biggest reason, the low pay. Many online English companies and schools are paying very low wages for your time. The platform I recently worked with was paying about $7 US for a 25-minute class, about $10 for a 45-minute group adult class. Some pay a little better, some less, but in general it seems to be in the $10 to $14 an hour range. I tried to find jobs with better pay, maybe $15 to $20 per hour, but those jobs are few, they seem difficult to get, and often the job ad will say they pay up to $20 or $25 per hour with certain incentives and bonuses, but in reality the pay is much lower. It's hard to survive or hard to make it, or it's not worth your time when the pay is so low. So in conclusion, for a digital nomad or nomad in general, it's far from ideal. You're limited in where you can work. The pay is very low. You may not get enough hours to make it feasible. And you have many stressors, such as being at the mercy of an unstable internet connection. It's far better to do work that you can do from your laptop at any location, like a coffee shop, doing tasks that you can perform independently on your own time. So my final thoughts, the plus sides of teaching online, the flexibility, choosing the schedule that you wish, being location independent, not having a boss or anyone to answer to. But all of these advantages are completely useless if you're not being booked and not getting paid. So let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, bang the bell, smash the buttons to keep in touch. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.